I like to start out of the gate with something useful. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to do something useful. So the first thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is a tool called Spleeter. It is free. Free as an open source tool. So there's a group called Deezer, has an audio platform, kind of the way Apple Music or Spotify does. And what they built was a separation library called Spleeter. This is the part where I need your attention. I'm giving you right here links for a free tool that can do something magical. I'd like to show you what that magic is now. So I'm going to do a screen share. And I'm doing this inside of Final Cut. So let's just kick over to Final Cut here for a second. And I'm going to hit play. You can drop in the chat if you know what this piece of music is. By Jamiroquai. I'm going to teach you a Final Cut trick right now. I know there was a lot of you using other tools. I just want to zoom in on this piece of music. So I'm going to hit the letter Z, and this is the part where I'm teaching. I'm going to keep the letter Z down, and you'll see when I hold down the letter Z right here, it turns to the zoom tool, and I can click and drag. And now here comes the neat trick. I've zoomed in. I'm going to release the Z and switches back to the pointer. All the tools here, all the tools, if you hold down that key, it'll just give it to you temporarily. And when you release it, it comes back. So here is the problem that we all have as creators with music. We have a music library, maybe you're paying for it. The problem with your music library is really straightforward. It's the song. And what you would really like is something that doesn't exist, not just a karaoke version. The idea that you would like it to be in stems. So I mentioned this tool, and I'll switch back to my deck so you can see this. I mentioned this tool, Spleeter, and there's the Windows version, Spleeter GUI. There's the Mac version. For my Linux users, you can install this and do this from the command line, and it can do a separation. I'd like to show you the result. By the way, the Mac application is really, I mean, when I tell you it's bare bones, this is it. It's called My Spleeter. You say, here's the start file. Here's where I want it to go. And it builds virtualized stems. So let's go to right here. And let's take a look at this. They are voices, piano, drums, bass, and other. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of these and I'm going to hit the letter V for view. And they just became dimmed. And I'm going to hit play. We're just going to hear the vocals. That should be small. Who can tell what magic spells we'll be doing for us? Let's bring in the piano tracks. Only to be told. I can't see. Now I'm going to bring in the drums. Sorry, drums. But I want them to come down a little. And maybe bring back the vocals. But let's bring up the piano. And what I just did is showed you a free tool that can take your existing music library, break it into these 5 stems. And then in those 5 stems, you can go back and keyframe or take in and out sections of it. And it's more than just a karaoke version. Yeah, I realize, Garen, that you're using Lala.ai for splitting. A lot of these items out there, like Lala, may be using these libraries and just putting a pay end in front of it. This is totally free. It only, Eric, breaks it back down to these 5 separations. I can't really call them stems. It's breaking them into vocals, piano, drums, bass, other. So I'm going to turn off all these other ones here for a moment so I can play for you just the bass. That's there. And let's bring in the other. And you're going to hear a lot of it falls into the other. But this is the idea of practical AI. There's not one of you out there as a content creator who hasn't gotten a piece of music and said, man, if I could just adjust it a little bit. And that's what this tool does. It's called Spleeter, and it's free. Free as in beer, as the open source people say. So that kind of gives you an idea of some of the things we're going to be doing today. All right. I just think that's cool. Hey, it's not what is AI, although I got to talk in this talk a little bit about AI foundations. I'm going to talk about loads of tools. I'm going to publish this entire deck. I'm giving you the direct links to the spots. I want to make sure you know what your editorial tools do and don't do. But it's not going to be we can make a transcript. That, I think, is played out and dead. I think there are enough tools out there that do that. So I hope you're enjoying this part of it. First steps, really important that we talk about these ideas. I got 4 slides of foundational information. Everything else is pure tools. What is AI? AI is reactive machines. It's self-learning. So traditionally, when we talk about programming, we give it a formula, and the formula, an algorithm, gives us a result. And AI can sit back and improve and sometimes make worse its results. And the danger with this is, from us as consumers, is that it gives us the appearance self-awareness. As much as we, use those Alexa names, those Siri names, and we sometimes curse them. My wife curses them so much when they get things wrong. They're not people, they're not soul, they have no life, they have no animus. They're just smarter, dumb instruments. All computers are dumb in that sense. Self-driving cars fall into this. Robo-advisors, which we hate. There's not any one of us who goes online for help and likes the flow chart of help along these lines. There are email spam filters. Netflix's recommendations. These are all AI tools here. With that being said, they lead us to a lot of fear. It's not going away, and it's going to take jobs, but as I generally say, it takes away the stuff that we don't want to do to begin with. There are a lot of this power here, and these are some of the fears, is it does automation. Some automation is great, some automation is bad. So let me give you some of the things that are going on out there. Trucks that drive themselves, it's great. Deep fakes, this idea that we can put a actor's face. There's this really great case of Bruce Willis being placed on himself at without having to do an act, without having to act. They had an actor come in, and Bruce just signed away his likeness for this piece. There's some negatives here with it. I don't know if you caught it. There was a Tesla news piece from last week where a group went and tested Tesla's autopilot, and it ran right over the dummies of children. It did fine for the dummies of adults, but the dummies of children, it plowed right through. Anthony Bourdain died, and they took his email, some of his writing, and they used a group to recreate his voice. And that gets us into that gray area, things that are okay and kind of not okay. There's some legitimate fears around this stuff. Speaking of those legitimate fears, is this going to take away editorial tools? It's stupid for me to say these things don't exist. And just to give you a quick idea, here is, wrong page, there we go. Here is Glia Cloud. What you do is you put in your text and it generates some imagery. Lumen 5, it's a video maker that allows you to do these things faster. I don't know that that means that they're done well, but they're done faster. And raw shorts, you just give it text and it jumps you back these pieces. This is all interesting stuff, and it's silly for me to pretend these things don't exist. Along those lines, though, there we go. Along those lines, it doesn't replace craft. And that's the real fear in our work, is the biggest goals I think we should have and focus about with AI is to take away the drudgery. And the drudgery for me a lot is like the one light, the quick color correct. I want to do the fun stuff where I get to really bring art to the imagery. And auto color from Adobe, for example, has the new AI assist, and this is constantly evolving. This talk changes about every 3 to 6 months as the next set of tools come out. This is, of course, the problem. It's the last mile, and it's tragic when it goes wrong. I already mentioned to you this idea that Tesla had some real problems with their auto drive, and it's controversial. It's not, the controversy is not going to go away. BMW, other groups, they're going to try and have auto drive, and it's more, I think, of an assist because of that last mile. That last mile is very difficult, and we've seen groups like Adobe, other groups. I pick Adobe because Adobe will have Adobe Max later this year, and they always do this thing called Max Sneaks, and they show these great new technologies, and so few of them come to light because of that last mile, and that last mile is painful. I think it's really important for you as content creators, as you've expressed the tools you're using, to know what your tools can and can't do. And I'm going to focus a little bit on the Apple tools, but I'd like you to know that the prior event FMC has, I think if you sign up for the recordings, you get access to them. And if not, you're welcome to bug me. I'll tell you what they do. But I just want to show you a little bit about what Final Cut happens to have built into it, because Apple is a sponsor of this event. Final Cut has 3 pretty killer ideas, and I'm going to demo them for you here. Resolve and Premiere have this first one as well, called Smart Conform. So I'm going to go ahead here and switch over to Final Cut. And we're going to go up to AI tools. And I have this morning coffee piece. I'm just going to scrub through this. So all this is just a coffee commercial that I quickly cut. And if I perk on some of these clips, and I'll give you another Final Cut keyboard command. I speak in keyboard commands. I'm actually, yeah, I'll give you, this will be the last keyboard command I do, because a lot of you aren't using Final Cut. I'd like you to hear that I can shift to transform, and it allows me to get to the transform tools here. Some of these clips are vertical, some of them are horizontal. There you go, there's a vertical clip. So what I'd like you to see here is I'd like to reformat all of this widescreen for what's called social media square or social media vertical. And to do that, I'm just going to take this and right click and say duplicate project as. And when I do that, all I have to do is choose how I'd like it to be. I'm going to say square, and I'll check Smart Conform, and that's it. And what's going on here, and this will take a moment of analysis, is Final Cut 10 is sitting back and looking for faces, for eyes, for content, for motion. And it goes through every clip and it intelligently reframes them. I'd like you to hear that if you're a Adobe Premiere Pro user, it does this as well. If you look at Adobe Max last year, I did a session exactly on this. If you email me afterwards, I'm happy to point you out to it. I'd like you to know that Blackmagic Resolve does this exact feature. DaVinci Resolve does this. And I don't recall, I should probably take a quick look here back at our post-production tools. Media Composer doesn't have features like this. Some of the third-party tools don't have features like this. But when we get to the other side of this in about 5 seconds, what we're going to see is we end up with this sort of functionality where it's reframed our work for us. I'm no longer giving people just one deliverable. They're asking for at least 2 or 3. I'd like a cut down. I'd like it to be for square or vertical video. This one here happens to be, there's my Smart Conform I just built. Oh no, it was the one I built earlier. I think this is the one I just built. There we go. This is set square. And all I'm going to do is park on a clip, and we should see here how it's reformatting these clips to fit what's going on. Command minus, there you go. You can see it's found the woman here in the shot. This was the vertical shot. It's kept her in frame, and maybe I want to go back and change it, which is great. But I'd like you to know it's done the hard lifting, the things that's a pain for me to build, because everybody wants to put their own material out on every platform. I want to just show you 1 or 2 more from Final Cut while we're here. They have this really nice voice isolation. And I don't know how well it's going to work. We'll give it a try. I'm going to go ahead here under Crumple, because I will show you a tool called Crumplepop in a moment. I have no video for this. I just have a piece of audio I recorded earlier today. I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to reset this clip out. We'll just put it in fresh. Let's just put it in at the end. There we go. And this is pretty ratty, this clip. This is me in front of an air conditioner with quite a bit of noise coming in. Now, I recorded that off of AirPods. This is not the ideal recording, and I did that on purpose. And all I'm going to do is use Apple's voice isolation. I'm just going to crank it up a little bit. And let's take a listen now. This is me in front of an air conditioner with quite a bit of noise. It's definitely smoother than it was before, and Apple has this now it's pretty much a one-click fix. It's very impressive. I've thrown a couple different pieces at it. It's done a great job. The third one I want you to see is Apple has got some object tracking going on. And we'll go ahead here. I think I've got one more footage. Is it there? Oh, we'll just go to Smart Collections. I thought I had one more clip in here. If not, you can just grab a clip. I think this is the clip I wanted to grab. So we'll do a new project around that clip, rotation. And we can take one of the effects and we can just pin it to this guy's face, which makes our lives easier as, say, if I'm trying to do color. So I'm going to go ahead here and just look at one of the color effects. We could use the color board. Doesn't make a difference what color effect. And as I drag it here, it knows I'm looking for his face. You can see it says the word face right there. And when I release, it knows that I'm doing a shape. I'm going to make that shape a bit bigger. And then I'm going to say analyze. And it's going to analyze quickly his movement. Watch this clip, because this clip's a great test of this as a problem. That was kind of anticlimactic, Greenberg. There we go. So I did this whole clip. He's sitting upright and he goes backwards. And I just want you to see this as I scrub through it and play it back. You can see it's following his face. And of course, what we do with it is what's important. I'm going to go ahead to the color board. I'm going to say on the outside of this shape, I'd like you to take out the saturation. And you'll see only his face area is in color, and we'll just hit play. And what I could do is blade this, and when he hits the bed, make the entire room in color. And this is part of AI technology. It's really quick, it's really fast, and yep, it does it as quick as a single drag. For those of you who have not used this before, by the way, with Final Cut, this has got the word tracker up here. And if you go ahead to the inspector, hopefully there it goes. It's right here under the word tracker, and you can track other items here with just this little plus. And you can track faces, you can track objects. It's a really powerful tool. You should know that my dear friend, Steve Martin and Mark Spencer, who are speaking at this event, have got excellent, excellent training titles out there on how to do this sort of stuff. And you can always reach out to me if you had a question about it. Now, I showed you these tools because they were Final Cut centric, and I want to just deal with a couple other items in the Final Cut ecosystem. There's the words I wanted. This is probably for me one of the biggest tools out there and worth examining. It's called Audio Design Desk. Before I get into Audio Design Desk, I'm going to answer Ivan's question. Can you track multiple items in a frame? Absolutely, Ivan. That one's an easy one. Audio Design Desk, by the way, if you're an editor, most of the digital audio workstations, DAWs, are hard to learn. They also have a couple other flaws. This one is probably the most breathtaking to me because I'm inside of Final Cut and I launch the app and it syncs with the timeline in Final Cut. So maybe I've just got my string out of talking heads as I tell the story. I bring up Audio Design Desk. I'm adding to Final Cut. It actually appears on top of Final Cut. And when I hit play inside of Audio Design Desk, it plays with Final Cut. That's item one I want you to know. Item two is it's got an amazing spotting engine. You can assign to a key, say for hits, for effects, for drones. So you're playing it dynamically and pressing a button. And then what makes it crazy is it's not paying attention to the beginning, but the sync point. So when you press a button, you can say replace it with a different version and it gets the sync right each time. It's got this great AI search engine where you can say things like warm or powerful or complex, and it will find music that falls into those categories. It's got something like 10 or 20,000 different pieces of sound and music out there. They do more each month. It's the best audio mixing I've seen for editors. And I'd like you to know it's about $9 a month. It is absolutely worth working with. And you'll notice there, it works with Media Composer, it works with Premiere, it works with Resolve. It also works with other audio workstations, but it's amazing with its Final Cut integration. It is Mac only. Crumplepop. Crumplepop has something called the Levelmatic, which I think is crazy. I was just talking to Frederick earlier today because I wanted him to see this. And I'm just going to take here that same recording, just go here, and I'm going to just remove these. I'll remove this. We're just going to use their Levelmatic. I'm going to play this for a moment. Its audio levels are pretty wide. Let's close that up.
This is a recording from my AirPods, just to give you an idea of some of the capabilities of the voice tools.
I'm going to hit Z and I'm going to zoom in on that section. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to turn on Crumplepop's Levelmatic. I'm going to bring open the interface so you can see it. And I can say, I will go ahead here and set it back to default. I'll say, you know what? It's okay where it is. I'd like it to be at -6 dB, and I'm done. Play.
This is a recording from my AirPods, just to give you an idea of some of the capabilities of the voice tools.
And if you take a look here, the area in red is where it was recorded. The area in white is how it's leveling out the work. How much should I budget for audio or video editing for a feature film or television show? Filmy? Wow. I don't have an AI for that. I have deeper answers. And if you want to hold out to the end, I'm happy to give you the deeper answers. The question becomes how fast the work has to get done, how much work has to get done, how much assistance you need. And my answer, you know, it's always that good, fast, cheap paradigm with the words here that you've got to, which one do you want to give up? Rogerio says, do you know any AI tool to automatically add subtitles to Final Cut? It's funny you asked that, Rogerio. Yeah, I do. Although I don't know that it would, well, let me show you the tools and then we'll go from there. So I mentioned Crumplepop. I'd like you to take a look in the Final Cut world to Ulti.Media. It's an Italian group. It's got one of the nicest things that I'm exploring right now called Final Cut video tags. You sit back, you launch this FCP video. I'll just show you what the interface looks like. And you drag your assets into this well, and it starts using AI technology to build keywords. And you import the XML, and now you have all those keywords of people's faces and close-ups. They've got a cut finder, which, you know, I'm missing it from my deck. I need to add it to my deck. Something called editingtools.io. But they also happen to have a tool, I believe it's video tags. There's one other tool they have that will do a AI level set of subtitling for you and transcriptions, but that'll get us to our next set of items here, some third-party tools. So I didn't tell you to look at Ulti.Media. I'm really blown away, by the way. Their Ulti.Media converter will do reframing of video assets to Square and the like for you outside of any tools whatsoever. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Ulti.Media converter will do Roto, and we're going to get into Roto in a second. Just for my Premiere Pro users, I just wanted to give you a list of the things it does. It's got a scene edit detection. You can find the cuts. Ulti.Media has that for a Final Cut. It's got an auto reframe, some auto color matching. Speech to text is pretty crazy. Remix is one of my favorite features. You give it a piece of music and it knows how to cut the music to make it longer and shorter, as well as the After Effects content-aware fill. And Brian has chimed in for the registration for 15-second film festival workshop. That's just tomorrow's workshop. That's not the actual festival. It's just the workshop portion. Resolve, by the way, does an analysis for people. It's got a magic mask sort of that lets you start finding faces. That's the paid version. Almost all the AI here is in the $300 version. It's got a smart reframe, the way we've got object adjustments, as well as object removal here in Superscale. Superscale is blowing things up the way Topaz does. I want to talk about the four major topics here because we got about 15, 17 minutes. Edit, effects, color, and audio. And these are universal answers. In fact, I'm going to be missing one that I'm going to add in here in a little bit. So I'm going to start with editorial. The interview problems. Interview transcripts are 1% of the problem. How do you go from a transcript to editorial for good or bad? And I'm going to show you a tool for that. The tool I've been using is called Descript. And I just want you to see, I set up and built this. I can go in here and I'm just going to hit play here a moment. I'm going to engage your creativity and invite you to make a movie between now and Monday. In fact, since I've got you as a captive audience, I might as well play for you the rest of this trailer. Here are the key items you need to know. It should be 15 to 60 seconds, and we're going to limit it to new work only. It needs to be edited on mobile, and you're going to have to include a screenshot. So here's the base concept. Before I go any further, I didn't write any of that text. All I did was sit back and read it, and it found that text for me. But I don't like this next line. We're going to try something, I like to work without a net. I'm going to do it right now. Camera that I went to film school with is worse than the one in your pocket. I really don't like that. I like the words, the camera in your pocket is better than the one I went to film school with. Now, I just did that with my voice. We're going to go in here. We're going to press the return key. By the way, all this stuff, there's a timeline view. All the stuff shows up here underneath as a timeline, and I can trim this timeline or trim the words. But right here is this spot, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to use create from voice. Now, it doesn't have my voice here. We'll use one of the pre-built voices here. We'll use Don, and now I'm going to type here for Don. The camera. All you need to do is stop that. Stop that. The camera in my pocket is better than the one I went to film school with. Now, just because I'm struggling a little bit here for a moment, what I'm going to do is switch to their older interface. They're about to have this come live. I'm just going to go ahead and paste that text in. Is that going to work? Yeah, there we go. And I'm having this is Jeff. Now, I've given it my voice. I've said, I'd like you to use my voice here. Let's see if I get it to, should work. Let's see, Jeff 2, give it a moment. Yeah, default style. This will take a moment. And what's going to happen is this is called overdub. It's a feature called Lyrebird. And I'm waiting for this to happen. I don't know how to make it happen faster. It should, after about 10 seconds, go up. The camera in my pocket's better than the one I went to film school with. It should automatically, come on, do your stuff. Maybe I need to be in a new line. So let's see if that does it. Yeah, okay. Now, I didn't say this. This has generated it against my voice that I trained it with. The camera in my pocket is better than the dot one went to film school with. I forgot the word I, and this will take a second, and it will generate that with the word I. Please repeat the name of this transcription software. It's called Descript. And you can give it, it's got a free freemium version out there. It is crazy. You know what? I like this, but I'd like it to be, first, let's hear it fix the word I if it did. I don't know if it did. Let's find out. Oh, play that. The camera in my pocket is better than the dot one I went to film school with. The camera in my pocket. I have a dot one in there. There we go. And then you know what? I trained it also with a more energetic version. And this will take a moment for it to regenerate. This is crazy, isn't it, Stephen? This is called Descript. And what makes this crazy powerful, if you give it interviews, is you can cut and paste between different interviews. By the way, let's play that. This is a little different variation. The camera in my pocket is better than the one I went to film school with. The camera in my... What we can do is we can share this back and take a look, export. You can send this back out to Final Cut as an XML file. You can go give it your interviews, cut and paste between people's different interviews, paste it into a centralized document and export back in XML. And I'd like to point out that while I've been very Final Cut centric about these tools, I'd like you to see it'll take it out to Premiere as well, and Premiere or Final Cut could go to Resolve. And this is the moment where you go, oh my God, I've kind of been doing a lot of this the hardest ways. It's okay. That's why you come to events like this. So Descript is a huge one. Reduct is another one I'm looking into. These other three systems are magnificent. The people behind them, Simon Says, Transcriptive.com, and Lumberjack, all have some unique features. I don't want you to think I'm picking one over the other, but I'm leaning into the one that demos very, very, very well. I would encourage you to look at them all. And again, all these will be part of my deck and available. And this is the part where I'll ask you, Michelle, if you would paste my information in again. A similar problem is the organization problem. We have too much footage. We're coming back, and this is, some significant money for an asset manager. But this program, Axle.AI, can do some of these transcriptions and do more. It starts to categorize the stuff based on faces, based on the text, making it easier for you to go find footage you were looking for from your footage if you've got a lot of footage. And you'll see here, for example, I can sit back and say, show me fire through all my footage, show me outdoor or building. The problem with asset management and lots of footage is really straightforward. Somebody has to tag it, and AI information does that better than by hand. No, sorry. AI does it. I can't say better than by hand. It does it. By hand is where it gets done best, but it requires human beings. That Ulti.Media, and let me just go back to that slide for 1 second here. That's what Final FCP video tags does, is it uses a similar engine to tag your footage and goes back. And by the way, the stuff from Ulti.Media, it's frighteningly cheap. I mean, I'm telling you, it's in the tens of dollars. If you're a Final Cut user, it's amazing. We just did Axle.AI. If you're an Adobe user, there's a tool called Rough Cut, and it just hides the shaky footage, which means that you can go ahead here and say, here's this footage, just hide anything that's shaky. And there's a similar one called Wobble.ai. And what makes this really neat is if you're going out and you're shooting, you can leave it running and just shake the camera, and it will break it into clips for you really quickly. This is just game-changing for me as far as working fast. Let's talk a little bit about effects. The big effect we want is cutting out the background, and that Ulti.Media group, they happen to have one. I want to mention its name again. The tool they have that is absolutely worth checking out is in this Ulti.Media converter. It's a Roto removal, but I'd like to show you what I think is one of the best ones out there. It's a group called Runway.ml, and you'll see here I've got unscreen.com and images.ai and cognate.com. Cognate is pretty impressive as well, but I've got right here a green screen set up, and all I'm going to do is say on this frame, I'd like you to mask this central area, and I just set a couple dots, and it starts to generate a mask. And then if I hold down the Alt key, I think it's the Alt key, maybe the Command, there's a switch here, and I'm trying to remember, we'll just do exclude. I'd like you to know not here, and not here, and not there. Now, what it's doing here in the background, if I hit play, and this is happening on their cloud server, I've got to upload this clip. It's built that green mask. I want to sit back and I want to show you this instead of as an overlay, as a preview. Now, maybe your tools don't have this. Maybe you're on Media Composer. This becomes an incredible asset for you to use as long as you can upload stuff online. This one is unique because you can set keyframes to it for when it fails. And yeah, I'd struggle with his hair. One of the killer things about this tool, and it has some cost to it, is I can actually export this as a ProRes or with an alpha channel. And that alpha channel, of course, is where that real power comes up. If I just want a matte, I can take a matte out of the software and use it in other tools. I didn't know about Keeper. And it's a shame the guys at FX Factory are really good friends. I'll have to take a look and I'll have to add that to this deck. So thank you for contributing that. I'm just going to go ahead here and add that to my notes. Right, the one from Blaze is called Goodbye Green Screen. I'm just going to put that over here because I want to make sure it gets added to this deck. Give me 1 second. Add, there we go. I want you to see they also have an Inpainting. Here's this neat clip that somebody had problems with on Reddit. And here's a guy in here. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of this guy. I'm going to sit back and just use a couple pluses and the hand here to bring it up. And I'm going to say, I need this guy to go away. The Roto brush is something in After Effects that has its Roto brush 2. They've got some of this capability. Again, this is phenomenal for people who don't use the Adobe world. And I needed to paint the inside of this guy. And yes, it's doing it across the entire piece. Yes, it will return this clip to you. Inpainting is the concept where it does all the filling in of the holes from other frames here. This is a cell phone MP4 shot that does not get much worse than this. And he's gone. This will take a moment as it loads. I'll show you the pricing here. He's gone, but what's crazy, of course, he's gone in prior frames. And if you're unhappy with the look, you can set another keyframe to adjust this. Now, you know, the biggest struggle with a group like Runway is got to get all the stuff up to them. And Runway, ML, their pricing is where it's hardest for us as professionals. Yeah, the free version with 720, not bad. The starter at $15 a month. At the pro version is where you get unlimited everything. And I don't even know what their depth and flow does yet. They've got a lot of features here of what it does, and they're really expanding, including an editorial tool. It's a pretty impressive set of tools, but it doesn't, you know, it expands what you have. Blurring faces, Blaze has got one for about $60 for After Effects. It just recognizes the faces and blurs them out. The footage is too small. Topaz works great. It really works a little bit better on, I'm going to say, Windows boxes, and it does AI upscales. My real criticism about things like Topaz and the scale up is that they do an okay job, but they don't know which one of their algorithms does the best job. And their feeling is you should play with it to see what works best for your tools. SpeedX, and there are a couple other tools that will fill in via AI a better time remapping. Although I'll tell you, the optical flow tools in tools like Final Cut and Resolve and Premiere and Avid are pretty good. This is a little, I haven't necessarily said these are better yet for me. On the color front, there's something really unique in the Apple milieu called Colourlab.ai. It's truly impressive. It does some one-light stuff. Let me just see if I have the short video I did of this quickly handy. I might not. I thought I had it handy. I'm going to give myself about another 30 seconds here to find it. Otherwise, I'm going to tell myself I'm an idiot because I know it's on the other machine. No? One more chance, Greenberg. Oh, I suck. I'll have to bring up their site. Let me tell you basically what their tool does. You're in Final Cut or in Avid or in Premiere. You say, hey, here's all this raw media. Bring it over into the Color Lab. I'll open up the software. I think, is this the right one? I think it's this one. I might have the wrong one. I've got both installed on my system. Nope, I have got the wrong one there. Let's lose that. There we go. Colourlab.ai. And what I'm able to do is I'm able to say, this is the right shot. I can make a couple adjustments. I'd like you to make everything else match it. See if I can do that quickly enough. And Michelle, so you know, I've got about 8 minutes, really about 6 minutes left, 5 minutes left, because I'm going to make sure I leave time for an exit. I'll wait for that to come up in the background, everybody. Oh, there it is. I don't need you to show me about the, I would like to open the last project if you can. Hey, it's all offline, Greenberg. I knew I wanted to have this opened up before. I'll take one more. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to see if I can open demo project. Let's see if it finds that. Don't save this. There we go. I sit back and I take a clip. I say this clip is the one that I want it to be the reference, and I'd like other clips to match to it. And all I have to do is press a button up here that says match all. And it's just going to make the rest of the clips match that clip. And there's nothing else I have to do with it. Nothing else I have to do with it. That's what makes it so powerful. Yeah, I love the tool Cinema Grade. Don't get me wrong, Amit, but this is the one that has got the most robust AI going on around any of the ecosystems. And it works equally well with Premiere as it does with Final Cut. It is Mac only. And it's got some very, very good math. And what's really crazy about it is you can not only make shots match, but you can say, I've got these shots matching. They come from these 3 different cameras. And oh, by the way, I want this look. Could you sandwich all those together to make it look really elegant? It's a pretty powerful, fast piece of software. And I'm on a 4-year-old Macintosh. Okay. Yeah, there we go. And it's made those match and made them match really quickly without me doing much work whatsoever. And that's what makes it so powerful. Just in the audio front, I'd like you to hear a couple other tools out there that I've been playing with. Dynascore from Wonder Inc. allows you to drop markers in a Premiere timeline or in their tool, and it will retime music for you. Neubert is a whole audio engine that generates tracks based on AI. That's what you're seeing here over on the right is Neubert stuff. And Amper Music, which was just bought by Shutterstock. I think they like the idea that they can create the music without having to pay artists. Dynascore is just amazing. You drop markers in Premiere's timeline. You can see it right here. And it figures out, it's called Dynascore because it's like a dinosaur that it sits back and it retimes and adjusts the music to fit. Isotope is the name in noise reduction. It is by far the best noise reduction, although Crumplepop's very, very good. It's not AI, but it has been trained with machine learning. I want to again mention Crumplepop's tool is excellent. And then the last audio tool, again, I'm just going to touch on, is Audio Design Desk. And it's their search engine that I think is so powerful, but it's an easier to learn and more integrated digital audio workstation that works on top of your editorial system. Today, it's Final Cut and Premiere, and I believe they've got a version for Resolve coming possibly in the near future. So those are the big pieces that I wanted to mention. Here's my information, and I can take this off the screen sharing, and I can answer questions. Zoom can be fun here. My name's Jeff Greenberg. I'm a post-production consultant and educator. I'm what they call a master trainer. I train the trainer classes. I teach end users.